If you ain't know, this is Nocturnal Thoughts. Uh, Me and Zone 6 right now, we in the process of getting a better understanding, overstanding, understanding. And I got an opportunity to listen to his response on dualities of the consciousness, his thought process, the way he assess um, outcomes of fights, the way he breaks down his logic on, you know, Keith Thurman, Canelo, Spence, how he looks at the sport, how his principles, the principles that he applies to the sport. And he has a gift in explaining and relaying his mind to be able to, reach out and he can be, if he wanted to be a sheep herder, if he wanted to have, if he wanted to bring, like he said, some people think more universally. If he wanted to universally bring people into the fold, he could do that because he has the gift of gab. You know what I'm saying? Man, I need a little drink of water. Okay. A lot of things, man. So many things. And I don't like making my videos too long. So this one won't be long. But this is gonna be my part 2 in response. Since I listened to his whole video all the way through. And what I'm gonna do probably tomorrow when I go to the gym, I'm gonna listen to that as I work out. You know what I'm saying? And see if there's any stones I left unturned. You know what I'm saying? But just to let him know and let to know people out there know a little bit more about myself, my principles, my thought process, my background. First of all, I have no issues when it comes to mother issues, father issues, and things of that nature. I was raised by 2 parents at all times. I have 4 parents in totality. Now I had my mother, still have my mother. I had my father as a young kid up until the age of about 5. They didn't work out. They went their separate ways. At that point in time, I had an older brother. My older brother was who I would learn as much as possible from, and he had about 3 years ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? But at that point in time, I had an older brother that I learned the game from, learned life from, or we was, I was his PNC, his partner in crime. Then we had a stepdad who came into the picture soon. He was very military, very narcissistic, but at the end of the day, he wasn't a bad guy. He had a plethora of knowledge coming from the military. It was things that he would be able to, pass on to us. And as a kid, 5, 6 years old, stepdad, at the end of the day, it was a blessing from God. We had bumps and bruises and certain things, that we went through. But at the same time, you learn many things when you have a father figure, period. So there's moments, years in my life where going fishing, going on road trips, handle yourself, how to handle yourself around other men, protect your mom, protect the women that you are with. uh, I seen the dynamics of a household of a um, three boys, and the oldest I had an older sister, an older brother, myself in the middle, and then a younger brother. And my sister was, when we was younger, my sister was as savage as any dude I'd have seen my whole life. I, any any dude on YouTube talking, or any dude out in the streets talking, I ain't never met one, not yet, that I would be worried about having my sister around, because my sister was a savage. You dig? Another story for another day. But my brother was always solid. My older brother was always solid. To this day, he's solid. And, sometimes he had my back, and sometimes I had to have his back. Now, going into my lineage, my father, we got back around my father. You know what I'm saying? We never was totally out of his life. But by the time I was 13 years old, I was too old to be around my mother and not be around my father. I moved in, me and my older brother moved in with our father from the time I was 13 years old. And my father was a Vietnam veteran, Purple Hearted, Golden Star, and had severe post-traumatic stress. He also was a college educated man, and he also was religious. He had his own he had his own church, congregation is what I want to say. He had his own congregation, and you know that that was a situation that didn't stay permanent. But he has always been a deep thinker. He always been a deep philosopher. Um, he's, but you got post-traumatic stress. Sometimes you can be a little unstable. You can be very aggressive. You can get a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of a personality when you have a severe post-traumatic stress, as the case my father did. Now, that was my father figure. I had two military father figures, my father and my stepfather. Both was in the military. My father was actually, infantry. He was the one, that was on the front lines. He lost a lot of people. He took shots. He took shots, and he received shots, and it affected him in major ways to see some of his friends, not survive. My stepdad, he went into the military. I think he had a little bit of a different experience, but at the end of the day, as a kid growing up, we did plenty of push-ups, run miles, do sit-ups, run more miles, do push-ups, run more miles, come home, make your bed, clean, do the yard work, make this perfect, make this perfect, make this perfect. When y'all get done doing that, go dig up those worms, and later on I'll take y'all fishing. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather, when you talk about a legacy, my grandfather fought in the war too. He fought in the Korean War. Came home from the Korean War and had like 13 kids. I think one passed away. He had 6 daughters. So I said 6 aunties, and then 6 men. So I got 5 uncles and then a dad. My dad was the oldest. So my grandfather was a type of dude that stayed in the family. Everybody stayed together. Same mom, same dad. He raised 13 kids. One passed away, so we ended up with 12 girls and 12 boys. And he worked to take care of them all, and my grandmother never had to work. She took care of the house, he took care of the business, took care of the kids. That's the kind of family structure that I come from. My father was the oldest. You know what I'm saying? And my grandfather was always the deacon of a church. You know? I was around I was around people that had integrity, discipline, um, religion, faith to this day. Some of my aunties are some of the wisest women I know. My mother has always been wise. People around me have always been wise and intellectual and thinkers and doers. My stepfather was a doer. You know what I'm saying? Something needed to be getting done, you do it. Don't ever leave something for tomorrow that can be done today. So we have lots in common when it comes to now when I hear agree to disagree, in your world that feels like a negative energy, a feminine energy. In my world, I necessarily never thought of that as using that as feminine energy. When I say we can agree to disagree, I'm not gonna compromise. I stand on what I stand on, and I agree on what I stand on, and I refuse to be moved. You stand on what you stand on, and you don't have to compromise yourself. You can refuse to be moved. The only person that can move me is God or myself. If I choose to move, it will be based off a decision I make. It's not going to be based off of another man's decision. So when I say we can agree to disagree, it's because I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to argue with you. I stand where I stand, 10 toes down. You can go and stand over there, 10 toes down. And guess what? I still have a level of respect for you. You know what I'm saying? I still have a level of respect for you. And as we build, I'll watch you build the way you build, and I'll build the way I build. If I'm building me a brick house that's strong with a good foundation, and I say, hey man, you should be building your house out of a brick. And you say, no, I'm not gonna build my house out of a brick. It's too heavy, take too much work. I'm just gonna use this straw. I can build it up much faster. I'm gonna say, you know what? We can agree to disagree. I'm gonna use my brick. You can go over there and use your straw. But when the big bad wolf come knocking on your door, don't run over here once he done huffed and puffed and blowed your house down. You see what I'm saying? Now, you also said zone 6. You said you can't think, you can't emphasize or sympathize or emphasize with the way I think from my thinking process. Like, there's only going to be one blood boxer. You can't duplicate that. So you, zone 6, would not be able to implement his thought process into your thought process, and um, you know, move him around like a robot, or move yourself around and make the same moves and the same decisions and think the same way that blood thinks. That is impossible. That's by There is no design. They're trying to work on shit like that where they can download your mind into these, you know, computer chips and have you live forever. They're working on that technology to download you into a computer chip. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Right now, I understand that, you know what I'm saying, in your mind, iron sharpens iron. It's my own eye within eye. You know what I'm saying? Me within myself is where most of the battle is. That's where most of the ironing sharpening irons is. So when I use my sword, I'm using a sharp sword because I'm ironing sharpening my iron is internal. You know, and what makes me, you know, the wisdom of me comes from me being me. So the more you improve you, in every single way that you can improve yourself. Mostly mental, physical, how you eat, you know what I'm saying, your routine, your pattern, your paradigm. Those things mold you and make you to who you are, but your goal is to and synchronize it with God or your power above, and your goal is to just always be the best version of yourself, because no one else can imitate and duplicate you. It would be a cheap imitation. It's like I think about the movie The Last Dragon. Bruce Leroy had the glow. Who had the glow first? Shogun. Shogun had the glow. But I'm like, how did Shogun get the glow? You know what I realized? Shogun did not. Sho'nuff. Sho'nuff did not get the glow. He did not have the glow. He had a poor man's rendition of the glow. He had a knockoff version of the glow. Because he needed to be he needed to be validated by other people. He didn't have his own self validation. He needed to have an entourage to basically hype him up. Every time he said, "Who's the meanest?" They say, "Show enough." "Who's the baddest?" They say, "Show enough." "Who is the master?" They say, "Show enough." Without them validating and pumping him up and blowing him up like a balloon, he really didn't have true confidence. And that is the main reason why he knew, no matter what, if Bruce Leroy didn't submit to him and say he was the master, he would never be able to fulfill himself as being the master. He needed Bruce Leroy's validation. And he was going to beat it out of him. He was going to beat it out of him. You going to call me your king. You going to call me the master. Or else he ain't going to never feel like the master in his heart. That's the whole point of him chasing him down. He's chasing down validation. Close. You're a beast. You're a monster. He can throw them things. But he don't got it. He missing something because he need to get it from somewhere else. He need to hear somebody else say it. Bruce Leroy realized that he didn't need some pretty girl telling him he had the glow. He didn't need his sensei, his Sifu, telling him he needed to glow. He didn't have his family supporting him. His little brother was dissing him. What he realized, and he was on this journey trying to find this new master, which turned out to be a fortune cookie machine. What he realized, not that he had the glow, not that he had to get the glow from the inside. He didn't have to realize that he had to get the glow. What he realized is he was the glow. He was the dragon. And that's what it is. When you realize who you are, when you know thyself, you don't need anyone else's self, or you don't need anyone else's validating you. When you know yourself, then you don't need anyone else to validate you. You are, when you know you are the master, when you know you are the one. When Neo figured out he was the one, once he knew he was the one. You know, to go back a little further, some kids might have heard Kung Fu Panda, the little fat panda. He was on this mission to become the dragon warrior. And it took him to where he opened up that sheet and seen it was just a reflection of himself. He realized that he didn't need some scroll to teach him secret arts for him to learn how to be the chosen one. It's inside of him already. So, when you realize you have the glow, when you realize that you are the one, you know what I'm saying? When you realize you are the chosen one, it's something that nobody else can tell you. Nobody else can validate that for you. So you can't go, if you go in your life trying to be a blood boxing, if you go try to be zone 6, if you go try to be nocturnal, then you're going to go the wrong way, because you cannot imitate, you cannot duplicate. You have to have your, you have to search your own soul and find yourself and find your voice. You know what I'm saying? So I fully understand where zone 6 is coming from. That's why I don't even, when it comes to celebrity, no, I'm not going to ever try to put my mind into Deontay Wilder's mind and say, this is what he's thinking. You know, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say he must be thinking. I will say there's options. I can say there's things to consider, but I can't never put myself inside another man's mind and know what he's thinking. You know what I'm saying? After the fight, he can explain what he was thinking. You know, and I can listen to him explain, and I can choose whether or not to believe if it's a valid explanation, or if he's just confused and he really has no explanations, and he has to come to his own grips and understanding that no matter what he does, no matter how focused he is, no matter how wild he is, no matter how mad he is, you know, it just don't matter. You can't beat them all, and if this dude beats you again, you have to come to the understanding and realize that you won't be able to beat him, no matter what you do. You can be screaming bomb squad, or you can have on your headphones and block everything out. It don't matter. It both adds up to a loss. But that's to be seen. We'll find that out pretty soon. Little lightning bugs, man. We'll find that out shortly. Maybe, possibly, we'll find that out shortly. So we'll see. I'm stay tuned into it. But that's part 2. I'll try to remember. You got into talking about basketball a little bit, man. I don't talk about I don't really do team sports at all. I don't really do any sports that involve balls. I don't do any team sports really. Boxing. You know what I'm saying? Boxing. That is the best sport. And matter of fact, Jamal Charlo got a fight tonight. You did. He's fighting against Montiel. So I'm interested to see how that fight's going to play out. I'm pretty sure that Jamal Charlo is going to knock this guy out. I'm looking forward to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to a knockout, because his last fight with Deverenchenko was just too tough. He couldn't get him out of there. That boy was just way too tough, and he hit hard. Deverenchenko, you can tell, when I watched him fight Triple G, I could tell that, you know, Deverenchenko wasn't nothing to play with, period, point blank. And Triple G looked a little off that day too. He was dealing with some kind of sickness or something. He had an issue making weight. He wasn't 100%. It might just be his age showing too. But Deverenchenko was giving him a run for his money. I still felt like Triple G won that fight, but it was very, very close. It wasn't close at all when he got in the ring with Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo really was dominant in that fight. He did everything to him except for knock him out. You know what I'm saying? So in this fight, you know, this is more of a showcase fight. Juan Montiel is a decent fighter, comes from a fighting family, but I don't see him being a super threat unless Jamal Charlo comes in here and, you know, he really didn't take the fight seriously and didn't train. And I just can't see that happen, because that's not their MO, their pattern. You know, they discipline. Those guys are disciplined. They remind me of myself. It's built into your DNA to have a certain. I haven't seen those guys without even having a six-pack. Like some fighters, at least would smooth out and let themselves spill over their frame, and then have to, you know, saying cut down 10, 15 pounds. I haven't seen that from these guys yet. These guys, between Jamal Charlo and Jamel Charlo, they stay T2T, trained to go. You dig? Nocturnal thoughts, man. It's getting to be nocturnal. See, I love it when they get like this, man. I wish I had some lights behind me so I could do a video at night. You dig? That'd be perfect. But Nevertheless, always more, man. I appreciate y'all time. I'm gonna drop this video tonight. Go up in here and chill. Watch a little bit of this Jamar Charlo fight, and then it's a wrap for me. Bow. Signing out. Salute.